So you want to translation, start with that. And the question is, so who are the family of the Prophet or the Imam? Is the family of the Imam meaning a physical children, or when we say family of Imam, are those who follow Imam are the family of Imam? So go ahead and Kyal, if you want to read that in English, and then we will look at the cross reference. I'm sure आपने निकाला इसका, राइट, मरियम का.
नूह ने अपने रब को पुकारा, कहा, ए मेरे रब, मेरा बेटा मेरे घर वालों में से है और तेरा वादा सच्चा है और तू सब हाकिमों से बड़ा और बेहतर हाकिम है. जवाब में इरशाद हुआ, ए नूह, वो तेरे घर वालों में से नहीं है, वो तो एक बिगड़ा हुआ काम है. लिहाजा तो उस बात की मुझसे दरख्वास्त न कर जिसकी हकीकत तू नहीं जानता. मैं तुझे नसीहत करता हूँ कि अपने आप को जाहिलों की तरह न बना दे.
11:45 says, And Noah called to his Lord and said, My Lord, my son is of my family, and indeed your promise is true, and you are the most just of judges. He said, O Noah, indeed he is not of your family. Indeed he is one whose work was other than righteousness. So ask me not for that about which you have no knowledge. Indeed I advise you, lest you be among the ignorant.
What is the Quran reference?
11:45 and 11:46.
हाँ, अब इसके बरक्स देखें हम कि किस तरह से एक जो पैगंबर की फैमिली में से भी नहीं है, मैटर फैक्ट वो मोमिन भी नहीं है, मैटर फैक्ट वो काफर की फैमिली से है. एंड अल्लाह टॉक्स अबाउट देम वर्सेस दिस फैमिली. जी
66/11. और अहले ईमान के मामले में अल्लाह फिरौन की बीवी की मिसाल पेश करता है, जबकि उसने दुआ की, ए मेरे रब, मेरे लिए अपने यहाँ जन्नत में एक घर बना दे और मुझे फिरौन और उसके अमल से बचा ले और जालिम कौम से मुझे निजात दे. जी निविन
10 और क्या किया है?
जी 10.
Allah cited an example for those who disbelieve. The wife of Noah and the wife of Lot, who were under 2 of our righteous slaves, yet they betrayed them, so that they, the husbands, availed them not against Allah, and it was said unto them, and availed them not against Allah, and it was said, enter the fire along with those who enter. An example for those who believe. The wife of Pharaoh, when she said, My Lord, build for me a home with thee in the garden, and deliver me from Pharaoh and his work, and deliver me from evil-doing folk.
सुभानअल्लाह. जी दोबारा पढ़ेंगे आप ऊपर नीचे से?
ओके. अब उसका लूत और नूह का विचार है.
जी क्योंकि सूरह तहरीम की ये क्या नंबर होगी?
ये 9 से शुरू 11-10 से शुरू हो रही है.
10 और 11 66, 10 and 11. This is the examples of the others, compare of mu'mineen in the eyes of Allah and compared to disbeliever in the eyes of Allah. जी
अल्लाह काफिरों के मामले में नूह और लूत की बीवियों को बतौर मिसाल पेश करता है. वो हमारे 2 सालेह बंदों की ज़ौजियत में थीं, मगर उन्होंने उन शौहरों से खयानत की और वो अल्लाह के मुकाबले में उनके कुछ भी काम ना आ सके. दोनों से कह दिया गया कि जाओ, आग में जाने वालों के साथ तुम भी चली जाओ. और अहले ईमान के मामले में अल्लाह फिरौन की बीवी की मिसाल पेश करता है, जबकि उसने दुआ की, ए मेरे रब, मेरे लिए अपने यहाँ जन्नत में एक घर बना दे और मुझे फिरौन और उसके अमल से बचा ले और जालिम कौम से मुझको निजात दे.
10 and 11. 66:10. Allah presents an example of those who disbelieved, the wife of Noah and the wife of Lot. They were under two of our righteous servants, but betrayed them. So those prophets did not avail them from Allah at all. And it was said, enter the fire with those who enter. 66:11 says, and Allah presents an example of those who believed, the wife of Pharaoh, when she said, my Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and save me from Pharaoh and his deeds, and save me from the wrongdoing people.
सुभान तो आपने अपने कुरान के अंदर ये क्रॉस रेफरेंस लिख लिया? लिख लिया दोनों तरफ? ओके, दोनों तरफ 11:45-46 और 66 की 10 and 11. So what are these principles? The principle of the Quran is that even those were two wives of the Prophet, Lut and Noah, because they were disbelievers, Allah said they are not your family. Versus, Allah is giving two other examples. That if you look at the wife of Pharaoh, who was infidel or a kafir, even then she was a mu'minah, and she was given the house near the house of Allah. So in the eyes of Allah, those people are mu'mineen and the family of Imam, or in the Quranic language, Ayalullah, the family of Allah, are those who follow his prophets and Imams. So it doesn't matter we are born Ismaili or children of the family of the Imam or children of the family of the Prophet or the wife of the Prophets. If they don't follow them, then principle goes, they are not the mu'min, nor they are the family of the Prophets. So sometimes, we worry that what's going to happen to other people outside our Jamaat or other people outside Muslim. This is a good example. Look at Salman Farsi. He was not born Muslim, nor he was Arab book. Look at P. Nasir Khusro. He was not born Ismaili or the follower of the Imam, but eventually they found the true knowledge and true calling, and they became the part of the family. Especially Salman Farsi is called ALWAAZ, the family of the Prophet. And when wife of a Prophet Muhammad asked, should I include myself in this family? And Muhammad said no. He only included Fatima, Ali, Hussein, Hassan. But when came to Salman Farsi, he said, you are part of my family. You are part of ALWAAZ. Do you see the difference? One was his wife, and she's asking, and he said no. But he told Salman Farsi, you can become part of the family. So here, what we are learning is the principle of Quran, but at the same time, the hope for all. There is hope for all. Whoever want to follow and want to become the Iyalullah, they can become part of the family. Meaning whoever include themselves in Kashti Nijat, or the boat of the salvation, meaning whoever is aboard with the Imam, then they are the spiritual children and family of Imam. And then whoever may be close to Imam, but they are not follower of the Imam, then they are not the family of Imam. They are not spiritual children. So we should feel proud You should feel proud that we are the family of Imam, and he's calling. When he said, my spiritual children, you should feel proud in your heart that we are the family of the Imam. But remember, there's a fine line. If tomorrow you decide not to follow him, then you can go the other way. Or the other people who are not following the Imam today, they decide to follow the Imam tomorrow, then they can get into this boat and they can become a family of the Imam. So do remember these references, and if you're writing it down, write down so you can read on it. G. There was a good point Nevin brought to the table.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So the couple of things.
G.
We talk about the boat of salvation.
Mm.
So is this something we talk about the real boat that Muhammad created, or is this something there's something behind it that Allah gives example of the boat? And the second thing, when Allah says in here, उस बात की मुझसे दरख्वास्त न कर जिसकी हकीकत तू नहीं जानता. So what is that hakikat? At that time, was there something that one did not know about it? That something going to happen later on?
Okay. So the first question, of course, the Kashti-e-Nijat or the boat of salvation is a concept that all the time, from the day one, is being a principle of Islam, from the day one. So whoever follows the Imam or the Paigambar at their respective time, they are aboard. कहाँ पर aboard है वो? They are aboard the salvation of the boat of salvation, or they are part of that boat. So we will find the hadith, we will find the ayat that talks about कि जो भी, यानी this is hadith now, जो भी मेरी कश्ती निजात में बैठ गया. Is there a different boat of salvation for each prophet? No, there is only one boat of salvation, and that is a principle: whoever follows me are aboard, and whoever does not follow me are not aboard. So in the business world, we always ask, are you aboard? Are you with the program? Are you in the plan? We are talking about actually the same thing. Are you with me or not? That's what it means. So are you aboard? Meaning, are you with me? So either you are with me or you are not with me. One or the other. So today when Imam says, my spiritual children, by default is telling you and asking you, are you my children? Are you aboard? Are you with me? That's what he's asking. By default he's asking that, not with the words. Okay? Okay. If your question is was there an actual Ark of Noah? If you're asking me that, remember in the Quran, Allah takes a physical event with a spiritual event. Was there a physical boat? Yes, there was a physical boat. But their boat was not that big, the way we think. Can you imagine all the animals of the world in a boat? Is that even possible? The nature of the animal is not such. There are some wild animals who cannot live with a domestic animal. So what would happen if you put all the animals in a boat? Physically, not possible. Meaning there was a boat, but not the way we think, or the people think. So was there a great flood? Yes, there was a great flood. So God took those events and giving us a guidance so we may understand the spirituality of Hazrat Noah. And when I say spirituality of Hazrat Noah, is that only for him only? No. every moment that follows this Sirat al-Mustaqim goes through a flood. Every moment can become a Kashti-e-Nijat. Every Imam, every Prophet, every Hujjat, Peer, Dai, they are the Kashti-e-Nijat for others. Whoever follow them, they are on Kashti-e-Nijat. So it's a spiritual journey that Allah is telling us about, but in a form of a physical story, so we may understand. Right? So if your question is, so what does this really mean, flood? Was this a flood of spiritualism, or was this a flood of intellectualism, or what was it? Or was it a physical water and flood? Along with the physical water and flood, the event that was taking place, I think we are.
Exactly, gave it the right time.
Right on time. Right on time.
Was it supposed to be raining?
I checked. I didn't see that. I checked, but I didn't see it.
No, right? Okay. So, along with the physical flood, there was the Ruhaniyat or the Qiyamah that was coming upon Hazrat Noah. The Ruhaniyat is an example of a flood. When Ruhaniyat comes, the knowledge that comes with it is an example of a flood. Meaning you are getting all of the knowledge of the universe in you within a second, within a minute, within hours, depending on how big this resurrection is. So I'm hoping that you guys are catching all this question. Meaning, there are different levels of Qiyamah and resurrection? Is there a resurrection of a second? Or is there a resurrection of an hour? Or is there a longer resurrection? क्या क़यामत में इतना वक्त भी लगता है? Yeah. There are so many levels of Qiyamah. But when you going through the Qiyamah we are talking about of Hazrat Noah, it is like a flood. So in a flood, what happens? A lot of things comes down, lot of water, just too much knowledge. There is no way you can catch every single drop of water that's falling down. It's just too much water. So what happens? You get flooded with the knowledge. That's number one. There's other thing happens in the Qiyamah. All the souls of the world also rush towards you. All the souls of the world. Why would they rush toward you? Because at that moment, the Noor Allah, the Noor of the Imamat is coming into you, and this Noor is like a waterfall. Everything get attracted to that Noor comes into you. So when they said he filled up the boat with all the animals, they were not just physical animal we are talking about. They were people and all the souls of the world. All the souls of the world. Why did he say the pairs of the animal? Because souls at the basic level are at the two levels. One is called lighter soul, one is called heavier soul. We will talk about that in some other higher class. But lighter soul and heavier soul is called a pair of soul. For our understanding, soul of a man and a soul of a woman. He gathered all the souls. By default, he did not go out looking for those souls. They all came into him because the Noor of Imam was about to be lit in him. And all those four souls came into him to witness the resurrection. So those were the animals. Otherwise, if you look at the physical story, Not only it does not make sense, because all the animals cannot live with each other, but there were no human, only animals. He saved all the animals and let go of all the humans. That doesn't make sense. Who are more precious, human or animals? Those were the humans like animals that he was saving. He was telling them, become a human. Get in my boat and I will make you a human like me. That's what he was saying. Those were not physical animals that he was calling upon. He was calling on the people of the time. But Allah talks in the language of a wisdom. So another principle to write down and remember, the principle of Quran is, in the eyes of Allah, human are only those are truly living. All the other humans are like animals because they are not truly living, because they are not in the farman of the Imam of the time. So if that is the case, even they may look like a human, but they are not human in the eyes of Allah. And that's the principle of Quran. Your last question was Allah telling the Noah, do not ask me to do something you don't know of, or you are ignorant of. He's a great prophet. He's a great prophet. But what is showing over here, two things. Okay, number one, physically we are animal of emotions. So he was asking emotionally, then what about my son, my wife? And I said, no, think intellectually. So I'm going to give out a secret in this ayah. There's a secret in this ayah. If a prophet like him asked for forgiveness of his son and wife, would not Allah accept? Lekin Jamaat mein, when Mukhi Sahib said, Ya Mullah, this Rouhani has come to your huzur, please give him salvation. And Azimam says, okay, take it, I'll give you salvation. What do you think? The principle hidden over here is, doesn't matter how they are, you always ask Allah for their salvation. You always ask Allah for their salvation. And Allah teaches them in return that don't ask me for something I cannot do. What is Allah cannot do? Allah is the Qadir al-Mutalaq. He can do anything He wants. Is there a limitation on Allah? So He's teaching. He's teaching them that there are things you don't know, so don't ask me to do. But you know, your job is to ask for salvation of every single soul. He was doing his job, Allah was doing his job by teaching. And of course, Allah says right there, I know everything. Meaning Allah knows what he was doing, and Allah knows what his son was doing, and Allah knew what he was doing. Eventually, he's giving salvation because Prophet asked for it. And if you look and find that ayat, it says, "Hey Nabi, you asked for the forgiveness of the soul, so I may forgive them." हम क्यों इमाम से मांगते हैं? If Imam asks for forgiveness of our soul, then those sins are forgiven. और हम कभी कभी एक दूसरे को बोलते हैं आप मेरे लिए दुआ करें.
That kind of leads me to what I was going to bring up, because I was going to ask you about it, but I think this is a transition for it. So 1436, Surah 14, ayah 36, and it says with Ibrahim, and he says, "My Lord, indeed they have led astray many among the people, so whoever follows me, then he is of me, and whoever disobeys me, indeed you are yet forgiving and merciful. So my question here was, before you answer that, but earlier we see that Noah asked and they said that we see the story of the son and the wife, they drowned. But here it looks like they're being Ibrahim saying that even though they're disobeying me, you can forgive them, right?
Yes.
So that option of forgiveness is always there.
Always there. And as a prophet, they are the Rahmatul Alameen. They are the mercy for the entire universe. If that is the case, how can they let one soul go to waste? Doesn't matter whoever soul that is. They are Rahmatul Alameen. So yes, sometime, okay, so I think today's class will be the class of the principles. The principle of learning from the positive ayat and principle from the learning of negative ayat. So some of the ayat, when we read, to our ears, they are negative ayat, like such as this one. There is a negative that whoever does not follow, there is a negative. And there are ayats like, if you could reach to the heavens, then why don't you? Look like Allah is talking to someone other than those who could reach the heaven. But there's a dawat in this negative ayat, meaning there's a possibility for you to reach the heaven. The principle of negative and positive, but you are absolutely correct. This is one of the ayat that we should write down as a cross reference. That here, Ibrahim is saying same thing what Noah was saying there. And then again, Allah saying, if in your family, to Ibrahim, when Ibrahim said, oh Lord, you are making me Imam, what about my children? Instead of Allah saying, yes, I'm going to give you Imam from your family, He says in a negative way. Whoever does not follow you, they will never be the Imam or the righteous people. He says in a negative way. What is the positive of that? Whoever follows you will be from the righteous and from the Imam. I know sometimes it is hard for us to even think that a son or the family of the Imam or the Prophet could be wrongdoers. But throughout history, we see that. Look at the very first children of Adam. One was righteous, one was wrongdoer. Look at the second one, other than Noah. Allah is talking about the children of Ibrahim that way. And then if you look at the history and Prophet Muhammad, two of his uncles, they were wrongdoers. His own two uncles. But versus, he had two good uncles, they were in favor of him. So we see this throughout history, and then we have seen that even in a family of the Imams, later on, where children of Imam has claimed the wrong Imamat. And all this is there for us to learn from the history. If you notice that Imam pays so much emphasis on history, because if we don't know our history, we will not be able to understand our present. And if we don't understand our present, how are we going to get a guidance from the Imam for the future? Because we have to have that knowledge to move forward. Ji. Anyone else?
It's always, any ayat you take, there is always a cross reference to that. And if we understand the principle, we enjoy learning the Quran so much, and automatically everything just keep coming out, and you just follow the direction, and you enjoy and you understand that.
So learning the principle is more important than becoming a
Hafiz al-Quran.
Hafiz al-Quran. Because there are Hafiz al-Quran, but they don't understand the principle of Quran, then it doesn't mean anything.
I think it's the same thing what Bhargava said. Students in school, we tell them don't just memorize anything, but understand the concept of it. Because if you understand the concept, then you can
Apply.
apply it to more things later on in life. But if you just memorize it for a test or something, right? Kids do that, right? You take the test, you forget about it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you know the concept of it, so then you can apply it in other aspects, right?
Yeah.
So I think similar to that concept.
So, Parvez will know what I'm talking about because he's accountant or the masters in business. The principle of T account. So when we were going to school, there were children, or the way the teacher was teaching, he will keep saying, there's only one principle to T account, and that is balance. That's it. There was an entire book. You take the entire book and close it and put it on side, and that's all you have to learn. Principle of T account is the balance. That's all you have to remember. If you remember that, you will pass the test. And if you don't remember that, doesn't matter how much calculation you're going to do, right? Doesn't matter what calculation you're going to do, it will not work out unless you remember that principle. That was it. There was an entire a class of bookkeeping that we had to give a test on.
So this was a good discussion from Nevin's sharing this point on WhatsApp group. I'd like to ask Aziz, he's been listening to lectures, if he has any questions, do ask, please.
Yes.
Actually, I'm taking all the information right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to process, and also I'm trying to listen, and I'm trying to figure out like what I know already.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm listening now, does it emphasize, is it the same thing or something new information? So I listened to like three of them so far. Yeah. The interesting was for the Chandrat one you sent. That was very important, like why we celebrate Chandrat and what is the importance of Chandrat.
Good catch. What else? So you've been listening to Chandra Farman lectures and the
3 parts.
in reincarnation. Okay, what else?
That's it so far.
Good.
Yeah. So do you have any specific question?